Howdy folks, and welcome back to War Thunder Ground Forces with the mighty Jingles. This is NorPhoenix, and we have to be very quiet. He's hunting tigers. He's in the SU-85. It's a simulator battle on the Carpathian map. For those of you who've never played or seen a War Thunder Ground Forces simulator battle, at various points throughout the course of this replay you are going to be looking at the tanks that he's shooting at and probably thinking, what's wrong with these idiots? He's right there. Look, turn around, shoot him. This is the view that you have when you're playing a simulator battle. This or the gunner's view. You don't get this third-person perspective view where you can pan the camera around and have a good look at what's going on around you. Good War Thunder Sim Battle Ground Forces players will constantly be poking their head out of the commander's hatch and having a good look around, making sure they know what's going on around them at all times. Also, don't forget that since it's simulator battle, as in realistic battle, there's no aim assistance. You don't get that handy little pipper that pops up on screen in arcade telling you exactly where to point the gun. In realistic battle, you do at least get a target marker over the enemy tank, but there's not even any of that in simulator battle. The one concession to gameplay that they do make in simulator battles is that friendly tanks have a target marker over their head, as you can see, that T-34 up front. And they pretty much have to do that, or there'd be so much friendly fire in simulator battles that it just wouldn't be funny. But as far as enemy tanks are concerned, you've got to keep your eyes open and rely on the old Mark I eyeball. And there are things that you can watch out for. The AI tanks, keep an eye open for where they're firing, because they're shooting at something and it isn't friendly. Keep an eye open for dust trails. Keep an eye open for friendly tanks getting the crap shot out of them by panthers that have just popped over the ridge. Like this guy up here. First shot bounces, looked like it hit his upper glacis. Panther's frontal armour very strong, even against 85mm guns. Side armour, not so much. So there's his first kill. SU-85 was developed. Well, basically the Germans had a nasty surprise when their Panzer IIIs and IVs ran into KV-1s and T-34s. So they went away and came up with the Tiger. And the Russians had a nasty surprise when their T-34s and KV-1s first went up against the Tiger. The 76.2mm guns on the T-34s just really weren't up to the job. The 85mm anti-aircraft gun, however, was. In much the same way that the German 88mm flak gun turned out to be a really good anti-tank gun, the same was true of the Russian 85mm anti-aircraft gun. Now, NorPhoenix here, you can see him aiming at something and firing at something, but no idea what it is. Trees are in the way, so we're going to pop to the free camera and bang, he's managed to catch a tiger right in the side. And I don't know if he's jammed this guy's turret ring, but he's not doing a thing and leaving him. There we go, knocked him out with the second shot. So there's his first tiger. One tiger and one panther down. His second tiger, look at this, just herpaderping along quite casually. But remember, very difficult to know exactly what's going on around you in simulator battles. This view is all you have. Unfortunately for the second tiger driver, it wasn't enough, and NorPhoenix is now up 2 tigers and 1 panther. Friendly tanks coming in a little bit too late, but they seem to have spotted some targets further away, and NorPhoenix is going to see if he can get some flanking shots through the gap in the wall over here. I don't know if you've noticed, by the way, that this is the latest version of War Thunder now features a ticket counter on the top of the screen, something that it never did before. It doesn't work, of course. That would be too much to ask for, but it does at least let you know now who's in control of which capture zone, something that was just impossible to tell on previous versions of War Thunder's replays. So it's nice to see them making progress in that department. But anyway, back to the SU-85. A little bit of history, chat about the design and development of the machine while we're waiting for him to find another victim. The original plan was to put the D5S 85mm gun, as it was redesignated from the anti-aircraft version, straight onto T-34s, but they just wouldn't fit. T-34 had to be redesigned with a bigger turret. While they were waiting for that to happen, they came up with the idea of mounting the 85mm gun, and he has found another victim at extreme range. There's a Tiger down there, engaged to the front. He's going to take advantage of his distraction. Artillery's being called in on him. He's putting some good shots in on this fella. Come on. Come on, you can have him. There we go, he's got him. That's his third Tiger kill. So 3 Tigers, 1 Panther, if anybody's been keeping scores. But anyway, design and development of the SU-85. It was the first dedicated tank destroyer in Soviet service. The Soviets had assault guns prior to this. The SU-122 was in service before the SU-85 with a 122mm gun, but it was an assault gun. It was designed for breaching fortified positions. They also had the SU-76, but the SU-76 performed a number of different roles. It wasn't just used for shooting at tanks, it was also used as field artillery and as an assault gun. The SU-85 was the first machine in Soviet service that was designed for hunting and killing tanks and nothing else. And it was a stopgap measure. This was purely and simply a way of getting this 85mm gun into a mobile armoured platform on the battlefield and shooting at Tigers as quickly as possible to give the designers time to modify the T-34, fit a new turret to it, and get the same 85mm gun fitted to that. As such, the SU-85 was actually only in production for a very, very short space of time, 2 years, between 1942 and 1944. By the time the T-34-85 was in full production, there was just no reason to continue building the SU-85. The first operational SU-85s reached combat units just in time to take part in the counterattack after the Battle of Kursk in August 1943. They would operate either in combination with other tanks or in what were called flying hunter squads of their own. They would often be attached to command tanks and used more or less in the same way that the Americans were supposed to be using their tank destroyers, where the command tank would receive word of a group of Panthers or Tigers that were proven tough for the T-34s to handle, and the SU-85s would be dispatched to go and deal with them. But by late 1944 and early 1945, when numbers of T-34-85s were reaching operational units in large numbers, the writing was on the wall for the production of the SU-85. Of course, history has a funny way of repeating itself, and even as production of the SU-85 was winding down and large numbers of T-34-85s were reaching combat units on the Eastern Front, by late 1943 the Soviets had also had their first taste of the Ferdinand tank destroyer, and by 1944 rumours of an even bigger tank than the Tiger were starting to filter through. And while the Soviet engineers recognised that the 85mm gun was a vast improvement over the 76.2mm gun that was in use on the KV-1 heavy tank and the early versions of the T-34, it still couldn't hold a candle to the long 88mm and 75mm guns that the Germans were using, and with the development of new bigger German tanks, they knew they were going to need a new gun. And so, even as the SU-85 was being rushed into service and work was being done on T-34s to convert them into platforms suitable for carrying this 85mm gun, the Soviets knew they were going to need something bigger and better. And so work began on a 100mm gun, the D-10S. And so history had a funny way of repeating itself. Even as the SU-85 was being phased out of service and replaced by the T-34-85, the SU-100 with a 100mm gun was being rushed into service in order to deal with emerging threats like the Tiger II until tanks like the Joseph Stalin could enter production. The SU-100 actually saw extensive service in World War II, in the last year of the war, particularly in Hungary, where a lot of them were used in the Battle of Lake Balaton. Meanwhile, NorPhoenix here has found himself another Tiger, trying to cap. He's managed to put one shot into him and avoid any return fire. And that Tiger's pointing his gun this way. He's taking an awful chance here. I don't know why this guy hasn't fired. But he's going to have to make his mind up soon, because here comes the cavalry. A T-34. Actually, I think there's more than one T-34. And somebody's calling in artillery. There goes the ranging shot. Gets another shot into the Tiger. That Tiger doesn't know whether to shit or go blind. I'd love to know who called in the artillery here, because Somebody is calling in artillery on their own team. Impossible to say which side. But, yep, he's dead. And the T-34 gets away. I don't know if he's undamaged, but he's managed to get away. Of the 2,000 of these that were made between 1942 and 1944, almost none of them were still in operational service by the beginning of 1945. They'd almost entirely been replaced by the SU-100s. The Soviets still had large numbers of them, but they weren't using them in combat. Once the Second World War had ended, with no further use for the SU-85 but large numbers of them still in stock, the Soviet Union simply used them to re-equip the armoured brigades of satellite states such as Poland or Czechoslovakia. Meanwhile, it looks like NorPhoenix has found himself another victim. T-34's coming around from the flank, and bingo, there he is, another Tiger. Plants his first shot into the side of his turret. It looked like it penetrated, didn't knock him out, but it's undoubtedly done some damage. The Tiger's getting hammered in the flank by the 85mm guns on those two T-34s. Second shot takes him out, and now that Panzer IV up there is feeling very, very lonely, and he's gone as well. NorPhoenix, not noticing the kill, takes a shot anyway. So, 4 Tigers and 1 Panther. Not a bad result for a tank destroyer that was only ever designed as a stopgap measure until the T-34-85 could be produced in large numbers. That was NorPhoenix in the SU-85, Soviet tank destroyer in War Thunder simulator battle on the Carpathia map. Hope you enjoyed the game. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.